President Trump's anti-weaponization fund is now facing several setbacks. A federal judge temporarily blocked further action on the nearly $1.8 billion pool of cash. Senate Democrats are set to introduce a measure to kill that fund today. The so-called Drain the Slush Fund Act would prevent taxpayer dollars from being paid to the president and his allies. Both Democrats and Republicans have criticized the fund, and that includes President Trump's former Vice President Mike Pence. On Face the Nation, Pence slammed the potential compensation for Capitol rioters.
The idea of creating a fund that could compensate people who assaulted police officers and vandalized the Capitol that day is totally unacceptable. My hope is the administration will drop the idea entirely.
Rupa Bhattacharyya is the director of Georgetown Law's Institute for Constitutional Advocacy and Protection. She joins us now to discuss this. Good morning, Rupa. How significant, in your view, was this order blocking the DOJ fund?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I actually think that the order out of the Eastern District of Virginia is not that unusual. Many judges will act to try to preserve the status quo, meaning prevent things from changing while they have a case that they're trying to decide, and they haven't yet heard any arguments in the case or made any decisions in the case. And this was just such a temporary order. What will be much more interesting is what the court decides to do after the hearing on June 12th, when she will hear from the parties and make a decision about whether or not there should be a still preliminary but more long-standing injunction while the case is litigated.
And this wasn't the only judicial setback for the president over the past couple days. Separately, a federal judge in Florida reopened President Trump's case against the IRS, which, to remind viewers, the president settled so that a slush fund could be set up. But how might that play out?
So that case is much more unusual. There are only very strict reasons, a very limited set of reasons why a court can reopen a case after it has been dismissed, as this one was. And there, the judge has asked the president and his co-plaintiffs to respond also by June 12th on whether or not there was fraud on the court by the settlement of this case, by the filing of this lawsuit and the settlement of it. She has raised concerns both that the case was not an actual case or controversy among the parties because President Trump is on both sides of the V, and she has also questioned whether or not the case was filed solely for the purposes of forcing a settlement, which would be highly improper and potentially sanctionable.
Now, of course, President Trump and his team wouldn't call this a slush fund. They say people have been mistreated by a weaponization of government. How do these developments put them in a position to defend what's happened?
So it'll be interesting to see what they argue. They have so far continued to take the position that this is entirely appropriate, but there are really significant legal concerns, at least in my opinion, about both the source of the money from the judgment fund, which was not appropriated for this purpose, and also the diversion of the money to this new anti-weaponization slush fund, which again, Congress has not authorized. Under our constitutional system, Congress has the power of the purse, and it is supposed to decide how taxpayer dollars are spent. And here it is the acting attorney general who is making those decisions. And I don't believe that that's lawful.
All right, Rupa Bhattacharyya, thank you so much for joining us this morning.